Good morning to everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the mobile ad hoc network systems. Before we are saying that what are the requirements we need to study this paper. Okay, here the ad hoc is an autonomous systems. Here every of your networks is based depend on your infrastructure less and an infrastructure property. We will see discuss on and about here. Here this is your introductions of your ad hoc wireless network. Here why we required a mobile ad hoc. First before that we are going to see about what is meant by wireless network. Here the wireless network has been classified in two types. One is your infrastructured wired and infrastructure wireless. Here the infrastructures again we are going to see about. Here it said to be any of the physical systems. We are required any physical system. For example, we need some support like a physical. For example, your mobile towers and all your infrastructure property. The next thing is your infrastructure less. It's like your ad hoc fashion where we does not require any physical thing. In your mobile ad hoc network, we require both infrastructure called infrastructure oriented and infrastructure less property. Here before we are going to see about, here there will be an hop will be there. Here the hop can be classified as two types. One is a single hop, the next thing is your multi-hop. Here in a single hop, we can directly able to communicate between your sender and your receiver. Here for example, here we will say as a Wi-Fi. Here the Wi-Fi is the best example. We can directly contact from your source to destination. Here what is the infrastructure over in your Wi-Fi? The router is your infrastructure property. Here when we are going to compare with your infrastructure less property, the best example is said to be an AirDrop. Suppose if you are using any mobile phones, here there will be no infrastructure is required. Here you can connect over and near two devices, all the data can be transferred over there. When you are going to compare with the Android OS, the NeoShare or your Bluetooth is the best example. Here in here we are going to compare with a single hop and multi-hop. The multi-hop required a intermediate node to transfer your data. Here we are not going to see about how many length or how many optimization. Here we will see about optimization technique into upcoming session. Here the introduction is there. Here all the networks can be connected and established in your single session that required a router. Why we required a router? Because we are going to communicate with a single hop, we require a router. Why? In a wireless base station. Here when compared to your normal infrastructure, here there will be a one source will be there and destination will be there. Here inside that all the beams and towers are inside over there. In a beams there will be two types called, one is a refractions and the diffraction methodology. Here in your mobile ad hoc network we are mostly see about your radio networks. We will see about how their data can be transferred through your radio transmission. Here it is defined as your multi-hop. I already explained that what is multi-hop, because we require more and more interconnected networks without any physical support. That's said to be an infrastructure less property. Here we will see as some of the types. The first thing is your cellular network. The cellular network is always followed a single hop networks. We are already seeing some of the examples, right? Then while we are compared to your multi-hop or ad hoc, here the ad hoc is said to be an autonomous. We does not require, we are not going to say about 100%, we does not require a physical requirement, but we require half of the 50% of an infrastructure and 50% of an infrastructureless property. The next thing, what are all the types over your ad hoc networks? The first thing is your wireless and mesh network. We will see about what is meant by a mesh topology in your communication network. Here we are going to use the topology of the mesh. We are going to communicate with your mobile stations without using any of the radio waves or spectrums inside your cellular networks. The next thing is a WASN. Here the WASN is always an infrastructure, because we are having, even though we are having an autonomous systems, we require some of the physical infrastructure. The last thing is your hybrid. It can be in combinations of your both infrastructure and infrastructureless property. We will see what is meant by cellular network. We are always saying a cellular network or physical network system. Why the cellular networks are required? Okay, we will see about, consider there will be a base station will be there. Okay, we will take into a real time. I think most of the students are using a mobile phone, right? How the sources can be gathered from one mobile communication to other mobile communication through your base stations of your network. For example, I won't say any of the companies. Suppose if you are using any of the BSNL, Airtel or Jio, here there will be a one host station will be there. Here among that host station, we are going to cut down into a small networks. Inside a small networks, one of the node act as a base stations. It's like an autonomous systems. Even though we are using an autonomous systems, we require a physical connections also. Here in this dark network, there will be an wireless link will be through a radio wave communication. We are going to communicate over a one network to other network. Then we will see what is the difference. Here the first difference is a fixed infrastructure. We require some physical setup to connect over from one to another. The next thing is a no infrastructure. It doesn't require any infrastructure. Here when you are going to compare with the cost will be higher in your cellular network when compared to your wireless or ad-hoc network. Here the cellular network is always using a single hop. Then when compared to ad-hoc, it always using a multi-hop networks. The next thing is when you are comparing to that, here there will be a no frequent path break will occurs because there will be an infrastructure, there will be some of the procedure to communicate from one node to other node. When while you are comparing to ad hoc, there is a no procedure because all the nodes are spread out in a random manner. So there will be a frequent path break will be occur. To avoid the frequent path break, we are going to apply some of the protocol to maintain a routing table. Then we have to identify a path break. We will see some of the algorithm in an upcoming sessions. Then here there will be and some of the characters will be there. The first thing is an coordinator node. Why we require a coordinator? Why we require a class representative inside a class? This is the best example for you. Here why without a central coordinator we cannot able to communicate to all other 60 students. So that we are requiring a central coordinator. The next thing is a multi-hop radio relaying. Here by using a relaying, we are going to transfer a data from one node to other node with the help of some intermediate node. Here what are all the intermediate nodes are there? The students are the intermediate node. So who act as a base station? Your teachers or your professors are act as a base stations in your network. Here we already discussed about how the frequent path break has been occurred. The next thing is a constrained resources. Here there will be a limited bandwidth while we are comparing to your ad hoc network. Okay, here the bandwidth will be limited. Then if you are going to communicate with your power, here the external battery supply is there. Okay, then here you can make an instant deployment to your any of the mobile networks. Okay, where you are going to use in your MANET. The first thing is your multi applications. Then second thing is the emergency rescue. Then your wireless community network like your ad hoc. For example, we have already seen about your GSM module is one of the best example while we are using an infrastructureless property. And then here some of the general issues while you are deploying in a ad hoc network. The first thing is your distributed operation because we are always following in centralized mode. Here while compared to a centralized mode, they can be moved into a distributed environment. Here we require some of the protocol while you are going to make in synchronization. Here the major drawback is that to be an hidden terminal problem. Here why we require a hidden terminal problem to how we are going to overcome a hidden terminal problem. The next thing is a resource reservation. Why? Because we are having some priority issues. So we have to accommodate that priority data the first over there. Then we have to introduce over.